Okay, well, we're going to finish up this Divine Healing Foundation, and then we're going to start talking about some of the healing hindrances. And actually, the healing hindrances, that's going to be fun. So today we just have some healing tips that we're going to continue with. Yeah, so last time we went through 6 different tips, and then we're going to continue with the next page of tips. And basically, these are just experiences, things that I've experienced or others have taught me that are helpful when we're going to minister healing. So last time we talked about we need to minister healing primarily by operation in authority, by commanding, which can be done either remotely or in person. But the primary means of ministering healing will be exercising authority, commanding in the name of Jesus, commanding the sickness, the devil, the pain, or whatever the problem is, commanding the problem to leave, and then commanding the healing to come, and commanding, whatever you need to command, whether it be a healing, whether you need comfort, whatever, just command, command, command. Amen? Okay, and so we looked at some tips, and let's just continue with the tip list here. So these tips are to help us be more effective in ministering healing to other people. So number 7 was that we need to avoid things which produce doubt. Okay, and sometimes people like to be very thorough because they think being thorough and telling you what's going on will help you. And so out of that interest of just full disclosure and wanting to be thorough and wanting to be helpful, they may give you a 20-30 minute lecture on their medical history. They may tell you about, go on and on about how bad it is, how terrible it is. It's a 0.00001% chance of life. They'll talk, they'll just go on and on. They'll talk about medicines and medical procedures. And as they're continuing through this conversation, your faith is evaporating because it's sounding more and more hopeless. It's becoming more and more wisdom of the world minded, medical minded, and that's opposite of faith. Okay? And so we want to avoid all these things. Avoid the long medical history updates. Avoid and stop them if they start going on and on about how bad it is. You want to avoid getting too frequent updates. Because sometimes people will tell you, 8 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock, and then you're just chasing symptoms around rather than actually trusting and believing that what you prayed in the morning is actually doing anything. Okay, so if you're constantly chasing symptoms, then that's going to pull you into doubt rather than abiding in faith. Okay, so avoid the too frequent updates. Avoid these long conversations on medicines and medical procedures. You want to avoid talking to, especially religious people, because most religious people have wrong doctrine ingrained into them. And so you don't want to engage somebody in a conversation where they're going to just be talking about all their wrong beliefs and all their doubts about healing. You want to avoid that if at all possible, because that can affect you. And we don't want us to be affected because we're the one who are going to pray in faith to help the other person. Okay? Another thing that could produce doubt would be researching disease and treatments online. Now, I want to balance this, right? Sometimes somebody will tell me some new disease, like they'll say, I have Sjogren's disease. Well, I have no idea what that is. I don't know what the symptoms are. I don't know what it does. And so I'll want to do a brief research just to see what am I dealing with? What symptoms do I need to pray against? So I'll do something very brief like that. So that's one thing. But going too far would be just researching and digging in, looking at all the treatments, looking at statistics, looking at all these things that will build your faith in an opposite direction, build your faith in failure rather than in victory. So, for example, people researching cancer treatments, and they start looking at all the percentages and all the side effects and all these other things, all that does is work against you. Okay? So you really just need to know, what is it that the doctors diagnose them with? What are the symptoms they have? If you don't have that information, then just do something brief, get a little bit of information, and then just come against it. Amen? So keep it simple, keep it short. And I'll even tell people, because sometimes people will send you emails and say, hey, I want to get on the phone with you and talk about prayer. We can go through the medical report and all this. And I'll just say, look, I want to keep it short and sweet. Just tell me in 2 sentences What's the diagnosis? What are the symptoms? And that's all I want to know. Okay? Because I don't want to like feed on all these things and have doubt. Okay? Then number 8 is, there's no such thing as somebody losing their healing. Okay? There's no such thing. You are healed, and then if you get sick again, it's because you got sick again. There's no such thing as losing your healing. Okay? And so what happens is that Satan, he'll often have follow-up visits. So he will have follow-up visits for the purpose of re-afflicting people that have been healed. And why does he do that? Well, of course, the same reason he did it in the first place, because he doesn't like people. He likes to be mean. He likes to steal, kill, destroy, curse, make sick. So he enjoys doing those things naturally. Okay, but also, if somebody's been healed through prayer, then he wants to derail their faith. Because the last thing he wants is strong Christians running around this earth and destroying his works and walking in victory. He doesn't want that. And so what he likes to do is, if somebody's been healed, he wants to come follow up and try and make them sick again, so that they'll think that they've lost their healing, or that the healing didn't work, or that it was temporary. He'll try and persuade them away from divine healing, making them think it's ineffective. Okay, so he does that intentionally. And not only that, so the sick person that was healed, it will derail their faith, but even the person who did the praying. And it can become very frustrating. And so my personal experience with this was that when I first started learning about healing, I was praying for anybody and everybody I could find. And there were constant victories, But a lot of times I would find, I'd pray for somebody at work and they had a knee problem or elbow or whatever was going on, some obvious kind of pain thing. And I would pray, and then sure enough, like just consistently, 2 days later, there they are limping again after they had been perfect. I'm like, what is going on? And I was so frustrated. I'm like, what's the point of divine healing if every time I pray for somebody, they're well for 2 days and then they're sick again? It's pointless. And so the devil was working on me. He was derailing my faith by doing what? By coming back with a follow-up visit to re-attack them, to re-injure them or make them sick again, so that he can ruin my faith and, of course, make them sick again. And so this is a method of the devil stealing the word. Remember, Jesus talked about the word being stolen? That's one of the tactics the devil uses to steal the word. And so what we need to do to counter this is minister to them again and repeat if necessary. And we don't want to let Satan steal the word from us and from them. And so, in fact, it was so habitual that, I pray and 2 days later they were sick again. I just started a practice where if I pray for somebody with some situation, I'm going to follow up with them in 2 days and see how they're doing, and expecting the devil's going to come again. And if he does, I'm just going to beat him down again. And I'll repeat and repeat as necessary. And so now I don't have that problem anymore where I'm having to re-minister every 2 days and 2 days again. So that problem's gone, because the devil's realized now I have persistence in that area, and I'm going to follow up and re-destroy his works if he comes again. And let me just give an example of this. There's a lady that that I worked with, and she had a knee injury, and she had an MRI of the knee. And so they knew exactly what was wrong with her knee. They had a picture of it. And so some of us had just taken training on healing, and we prayed for her, and she was completely healed from this knee problem. And then about 2 weeks later, we talked to her again, and she's telling us that she has an appointment for surgery, that the pain came back, she wasn't healed, and she decided to go through with the surgery. Okay, so before they operated on her, they did a new MRI. And the new MRI, it showed a different injury to the knee, but it presented to her with the same symptoms. So the pain felt the same, everything felt the same to her, so she thought it was a recurrence of the same exact injury. But the two MRIs, they showed two different injuries to the knee. It just felt the same to her. And so she went ahead with the surgery anyway, and of course she had a long recovery time because of that. Okay, but the point is that what happened? The devil followed up. Her knee had been healed, and there was a picture to show what was wrong with it. That injury was healed upon our prayer. And then the devil came with a follow-up visit, re-afflicted her same knee to destroy her faith and to destroy our faith. And then the second MRI picture proved that it was a new injury. So that actually turned out to be a faith builder instead of a faith derailer. But unfortunately for Karen, she had to go through with the surgery. Or she didn't have to, but she did go through with it. Okay? So just be aware of that tactic of the devil. Follow up with your person a few days later, and if they need a second round or third round of administering, go ahead and do it. Okay, number 9 is there's only one healing failure in the Bible, and Jesus, he blamed it on the disciples. He told the disciples that they were faithless and they were perverse, and that's why the boy wasn't healed. And this is concerning the epileptic boy, and that's in Matthew chapter 17, verses 14 to 18. And the word perverse means that they were twisted or in error in the beliefs that they had. Okay, so the disciples could not get the job done. However, Jesus, he was able to heal the boy. Okay, so healing was possible. And remember, we're not the same species as the disciples. We're the same species as Jesus. Okay, because Jesus's disciples at this point in time, they were not born again. They were not baptized with the Holy Spirit. So they didn't have the Spirit in them. They didn't have it upon them in the same way that we do. So we are made just like Jesus. Jesus was born again, and then he was baptized with the Holy Spirit. We are born again, and then we, hopefully, are baptized with the Holy Spirit. And so we are now the same creature as Jesus. And so if Jesus was able to heal the boy, we should be able to heal the boy. Okay? And so if we have difficulty getting someone healed, a suggestion is to take in more teachings and more testimonies, and then go pray again. Or you can get somebody to pray in agreement with you. And then sometimes you just need to be persistent until the person is healed. Okay? But healing is always possible. There's no scenario where it's impossible. It's always possible. Jesus never failed. Jesus is our role model, and we want to be like him. And we are equipped to be like him. And the only thing that hinders us from being like him are any doubts or misunderstandings that we have. Okay, number 10 is we need to stick with what Jesus revealed to us. And Jesus never talked about generational curses. Jesus never went digging up people's sins. He never went digging up people's forefathers' sins. He never did any of that before healing them. So sin wasn't even a topic before Jesus healed. Right? Jesus didn't resurrect anyone's sins before healing them. He only said, after the fact, your sins are forgiven. Amen? So, after healing, for example, he mentioned to one gentleman that was paralyzed for 38 years, he said, sin no more, lest a worse thing happen to you. And that was after he had healed him. So this person that he healed had been in that condition of sickness for 38 years, an invalid, because of personal sin. Yet Jesus didn't address the sin topic until after he was healed. Okay, whereas many churches you'll go to, well, you can't be healed unless you get sin out of your life. Well, remember that every single person that Jesus healed was still in their sins. Not one person was born again. Not one person had their sins washed away by the blood of Jesus. Not one person was redeemed from curse. Okay, so every single person he healed was in their sins. They were under law. They were under curse. And they were still getting healed. Amen? And so the sin topic, don't concern yourself with their sins. First, concern yourself out of compassion with getting them healed. And then afterwards, disciple them and get them, coach them, teach them, get them out of sin and raise them up as a disciple after the healing. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to focus on operating in authority to get our person healed. We don't want to worry about their sins. We don't want to worry about their parents' sins or grandfather's sins or anything like that, because Jesus didn't do it and neither shall we do it. Amen? Okay, and then the last tip here was that in order to continue in health, it is necessary for all of us to be established in faith for healing, or in faith for health, in faith for healing, in faith for long life, in faith for protection, and so forth. Okay, so by doing those, then we will produce enduring health, and we need to seek to disciple the people whom we heal. Okay, so we can heal people, but unless they decide to be raised up in faith, then chances are they're going to get sick again at some point, or they'll get injured, or something will happen in their life. And we can't be there to babysit everybody. People have a responsibility to be discipled. They have a responsibility to arise in faith. They have a responsibility to lay hold of the promises of God and walk in them. It is not my responsibility to carry someone all throughout their life. It is my responsibility to minister to people, to make disciples, to heal them. But there's a lot of people that you're going to minister to that really don't want to pursue the things of God, and you can help them as many times as you want, but don't dedicate your life to helping people that don't want to grow. Amen? Because then the devil will send a few people your way that will have you tied up for the rest of your life, and you'll be frustrated working with these same people, trying to push them, and things just don't happen. We want to find people that have ears to hear, that want to grow, and spend more time with those people. Amen?